Welcome to the show. Today we're diving deep, and I mean really deep, into a book called Deep Utopia, Life and Meaning in a Solved World by Nick Bostrom.
A solved world, huh? Sounds like a sci-fi dream or maybe a philosophical minefield.
Exactly. And Bostrom, known for his work on superintelligence, doesn't shy away from exploring the potential paradoxes and problems that come with achieving a utopian state.
Okay, so before we get too lost in the clouds, let's set the stage. What's this solved world even look like according to Bostrom?
Well, imagine a world where technology has advanced to the point where pretty much all of our material needs are effortlessly met. Think food, shelter, healthcare, all readily available.
So, no more scarcity, no more worrying about basic survival. Sounds pretty good on the surface.
It does, but Bostrom argues that this very abundance could lead to a kind of existential crisis. What happens when we no longer have to struggle for survival? What gives our lives meaning and purpose?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? We're so used to defining ourselves by our work, our ambitions, our struggles. Take that away, and what's left?
Right? Bostrom explores this through the lens of economics, philosophy, and even a bit of self-help. He examines how things like our desire for status, our need for achievement, and our inherent human nature might play out in a world of such radical abundance.
Okay, so it's not just about having all the stuff we could ever want. It's about what we do with ourselves when we don't need to do anything.
Exactly. One of the core ideas he explores is this concept of deep redundancy. Basically, the idea that in a solved world, many of the things we currently find meaningful work, personal achievement, even traditional social structures, could become redundant or even obsolete.
So, what are some of these potential problems that Bostrom identifies with achieving this kind of deep utopia?
Well, first, he touches on something called prudential barriers. The idea that certain technologies needed to achieve utopia might be too risky to develop, potentially causing catastrophic events.
Okay, so even striving for utopia could have its dangers.
Exactly. Then there are what he calls axiological contours, limits arising from the very shape of our values. Things like our desire for status, which by its nature creates scarcity and competition, even in a world of abundance.
Yes, the old keeping up with the Joneses problem.
Precisely, and he even delves into metaphysical constraints, fundamental limits to what's possible. For example, the limits of computation that could prevent our mind from truly coming up with a new idea. We would only be recycling what already exists in the universe.
Wow, it's like he's trying to find all the loopholes in the idea of a perfect world.
And to that effect, it's not just the big, abstract stuff. He gets into the nitty-gritty of what everyday life might be like. Take the simple act of shopping, for example.
Shopping? What's so complicated about that?
Think about it. Right now, shopping involves exploration, evaluation, imagination, social interaction. But in a world of superintelligent AI, an algorithm could predict your needs and desires better than you could yourself. Shopping becomes automated, maybe even disappears altogether. What happens to all those cognitive processes, those little sparks of joy or frustration we get from finding the perfect item?
Okay, I see his point. Even something as mundane as shopping could be transformed in a way that diminishes our agency and our sense of purpose.
Exactly. It's the purpose problem at scale. It makes you wonder, what are we without our struggles?
All right, so if the traditional sources of meaning are at risk, what are some of the solutions Bostrom proposes, or at least hints at?
One key thing is a shift in focus. He argues for cultivating a leisure culture, educating people to thrive in a world without work. It's about valuing things like art, music, nature, community, and personal growth.
So instead of being defined by what we do for a living, we find meaning in who we are and what we experience.
Precisely, and it comes with time. Some of the biggest obstacles, according to Bostrom, is how the modern world is disenchanted from years of materialism. If people can, instead, see the beauty in everything that surrounds them, then they might discover a life worth living.
It's a bit about seeing more from life, it seems.
I agree, which is why he talks about reclaiming aspects of community. Our role and our relationship with what makes us human is important. It makes you wonder about how connected we can be with others.
This is all pretty heady stuff. It's easy to get lost in these abstract ideas. What's the takeaway here? What does it mean for us today?
I think it's a call to be more mindful about the values we prioritize, both as individuals and as a society. As we move towards a world of increasing automation and technological advancement, we need to think carefully about what gives our lives meaning and how to cultivate those things.
So, it's not about fearing progress or rejecting technology, but about shaping it in a way that aligns with our deepest values.
Exactly. It's about creating a future where we not only have all the material comforts we could ever want, but also the opportunity to live truly meaningful and fulfilling lives.
Well, that's certainly a lot to think about. Thanks for taking us on this intellectual journey. And to our listeners, check out Nick Bostrom's Deep Utopia, Life and Meaning in a Solved World, for an even deeper dive.
Until next time, keep exploring.